face went white. She used the discrimination narrative to cover her own misconduct, I said. She targeted me because she thought I was the easiest to silence. Claire shot to her feet. You ruined me, she screamed. You think you're better than me? You think you belong here? You think your little curls make you special? Claire, the HR director barked. She froze. Everyone stared at her. Her meltdown, her rage, her humiliation. Captured on 2 company cameras. Captured on my mic. Captured for legal use. Her career was over. The CFO stood. Claire Williams, he said stiffly. You are suspended effective immediately pending termination and internal investigation. No, no, please, she whispered. But it was done. Security entered the room. Everyone watched in stunned silence as they escorted her out, her heels clicking desperately against the floor, her voice cracking into sobs, her entire world collapsing. And for the first time, I felt nothing.
No guilt, no pity, no satisfaction.
Just closure. When she was gone, all eyes turned to me. The CEO spoke first. Naomi, I don't know what to say. I answered calmly. You don't have to say anything. Just fix the system that allowed her to thrive. He nodded slowly, ashamed. Yes, yes, we will. Aaliyah stood behind me. Jasmine stood beside me. And I realized I wasn't alone. Not anymore. When the meeting ended, something unexpected happened. The quiet black intern from earlier approached me. Her voice trembled. Thank you, she whispered, for all of us. Then another woman joined her. And a man. Then another. And before I knew it, nearly the entire employee resource group stood in front of me. A wave of faces. Black.
Brown.
Asian. Queer. Immigrant. Marginalized. Soft voices. Hard truths. Quiet bravery. You changed everything, one woman murmured. I shook my head. No, I said softly. I reminded them we were always here. The meeting ended, but the war didn't. Not even close. Because when giants fall, they don't fall quietly. They take the ceiling tiles, the walls, and half the building with them. And Claire was a giant in this company. A rotten, decaying, venom-filled giant. But a giant nonetheless. So when the door slammed behind her and her screams faded down the hallway, the silence she left behind wasn't peaceful. It was heavy, uneasy, electrified, like everyone in that room realized at the same time. If this could happen to Claire, what does it mean for the rest of us? Tension spreads like smoke. The second Claire was out of earshot, the executives scattered. Some rushed to HR, some to legal, some to their offices to delete whatever incriminating messages they had buried in the Slack archives. Others whispered frantically, "Did you know about this? Who else is involved? Are we being recorded right now? Is she suing the whole company? Am I next?" People didn't look at me with fear. They looked at me with realization. Realization that I wasn't the quiet assistant they once dismissed. Realization that I had receipts, power, influence, and worst of all, a very good lawyer. Aaliyah and Jasmine cornered HR before they could run. Aaliyah leaned over the HR director's desk like a wolf blocking the only exit. "You're going to cooperate," she said, "or this gets federal." HR director. "W, what do you want?" "Everything," Aaliyah said. "Email archives, all complaints filed about Claire, all complaints ignored, all diversity reports you faked, all performance reviews she tempered, all screenshots, all hidden files." Jasmine moved behind her, locking the door. "And you're going to send them to us," she added, voluntarily. "Or we let the press find them first." HR director nearly fainted. Because this wasn't corporate conflict anymore. This was legal wildfire. And wildfire doesn't negotiate. Meanwhile, I walked the floor. I don't know why I did it. Maybe I needed to see the company with new eyes. Maybe I wanted to breathe the air without fear. Maybe I needed to confirm the truth. I no longer belonged to the bottom of the ladder. The open floor workspace fell completely silent as I walked through. Some people stood. Some stared. Some looked away quickly, ashamed. I felt none of the old trembling, none of the self-conscious shrinking. No tug at my scalp, no urge to smooth my curls. I walked like I owned every oxygen molecule in the building. Halfway down the hall, someone called out, "Naomi?" I turned. It was Marcus, the only black engineer on the team, quiet, brilliant, always overlooked. He swallowed and said quietly, I just wanted to say thank you." "For what?" "For proving we're not crazy." His voice cracked on the last word. Others nodded behind him. People who'd faced microaggressions. People who'd been passed for promotions. People who'd been told to tone it down, fit in, straighten up. For the first time, the whole floor didn't feel like a battlefield. It felt like an audience, watching someone they hoped, for the first time ever, would win. But not everyone was on my side. As I passed the project management cluster, two supervisors, white, mid-40s, always pretending to be allies, whispered, "She better not come after us next. She's setting a dangerous precedent." This is why companies hesitate to hire. I stopped walking, turned slowly, met their eyes. "You were saying?" They froze. One stuttered, "Nothing. We were just discussing the meeting." "Great," I said calmly, "because your Slack history is probably next." They went pale. I kept walking. The CEO summoned me. 10 minutes later, an assistant approached nervously. "Naomi, the CEO wants to see you now." The entire floor watched as I entered the elevator. The doors closed with a soft metallic sigh. For a second, I felt something, a tremor of anxiety, a ghost of the girl I used to be. But the elevator kept rising, and the fear stayed on the lower floors. The top floor, solitude, power, and panic. The CEO's office was absurdly large. Floor-to-ceiling windows, leather furniture, a massive desk that probably cost more than my annual salary before they fired me. He stood when I walked in, which he'd never done before. "Naomi," he said quietly, "please sit." "I'd rather stand." He hesitated. "As you wish." The silence stretched. He cleared his throat. "This situation has escalated rapidly, faster than any of us anticipated." "Did it?" I asked. He blinked. "Excuse me?" "Claire didn't become this person overnight," I said. "She became this person because no one stopped her, because you put her in power, because she reflected the culture you allowed." He opened his mouth to speak, but I cut him off. "And because you thought people like me wouldn't fight back." A long, heavy pause. Then he sank into his chair. "You're right. I didn't expect that." He ran a hand through his hair. "I knew Claire had issues," he admitted, "but I didn't realize the extent, not until today." I stared at him. "You always realized," I said softly. "You just didn't care." He looked wounded, but didn't deny it.
Good.
Because I wasn't here to soothe him. The CEO's offer. He leaned forward. "Naomi, what do you want? We are prepared to compensate you generously." "Money." Of course he tried money first. I shook my head. "This isn't about a settlement." His eyebrows lifted. "You're not suing?" "Oh," I said calmly, "we are suing." He swallowed. "But we're not settling." He exhaled shakily. "Then what do you want?" I walked to the window, looked down at the city, felt the weight of every black employee who ever sat in a bathroom stall crying, of every girl whose natural hair was called unprofessional, of every silent battle fought in fluorescent-lit hallways. Then I turned to him. "Power," I said simply. His eyes widened. "Excuse me? I want a position where I can dismantle what Claire built, where I can ensure no one goes through what I did, where I can see everything the company hides, where I can actually change things." He stared, trying to compute whether this was absurd or brilliant. I gave him my conditions. 1. Head of diversity, equity, and ethical compliance, with full access to HR, hiring, review systems, Slack archives, and internal investigations. 2. Authority to hire my own team, including Aaliyah and Jasmine. 3. A formal apology released publicly, written by him. 4. A hair discrimination policy written into the company handbook, with mandatory stylist training for white managers. 5. All Claire's victims reinstated, compensated, and promoted. He blinked.
Hard.
That's extreme. That's justice. Another beat of silence. He sighed. You're asking for a revolution. I met his gaze. You need one. He leaned back, closed his eyes, and whispered, Okay. The real twist? He didn't agree because he wanted to. He agreed because the board demanded it, because the shareholders demanded stability, because the legal risk was too big, because the public backlash was already brewing, because investors had already started pulling back that morning. I was no longer a liability. I was the solution.
They needed me.
They needed the girl they fired. They needed the curls they called unprofessional. They needed everything they tried to silence. And that tasted sweet. When I walked out of his office, the entire floor watched me again. But this time, they didn't look nervous. They didn't look tense. They looked hopeful, as if something enormous had shifted in the building's foundations, as if the air itself was different. Aaliyah and Jasmine were waiting by the elevators. Well? Jasmine asked. I smiled. A slow, fierce smile. We're in. Aaliyah's eyes softened. Told you, she murmured. You're dangerous. The moment we stepped out of the CEO's office, the building felt different. Not safer. Not calmer. Just awake. Like the fluorescent lights hummed louder. Like the air conditioning clicked sharper. Like the entire corporate organism suddenly realized the infection had been cut out, and now the immune system was learning to fight. Aaliyah took one look at my face and nodded slowly. You got it, she whispered. The elevator doors closed, sealing us in a small metal box filled with quiet triumph. Jasmine grinned, biting her lip to keep from laughing. You literally walked upstairs unemployed and walked back down as a department head, she whispered. Girl, that's witchcraft. I leaned against the wall. For the first time all day, I let myself breathe. But the building wasn't done with me yet. When the elevator opened on the main floor, something unexpected happened. People applauded. Not everyone. Not loudly. Not in unison. Nothing dramatic. It was scattered, like rainfall. A few claps from the sales team. Then some from marketing. Then the interns. Then 2 engineers. Then quietly, timidly, the black and brown employees who had watched Claire tear people apart for years. They didn't cheer. They didn't make a scene. They just clapped.
Soft. Steady.
Grateful. I felt my throat tighten. I wasn't the kind of person applause was meant for. I wasn't a celebrity. I wasn't a hero. I was the girl who got fired for her hair. And yet, they clapped anyway. Aaliyah leaned toward me. Don't cry, she murmured. They'll put it on LinkedIn. I almost laughed. Almost. But not everyone applauded. Especially not the ones who suddenly had something to lose. I noticed them instantly. 3 managers near the water cooler, talking in that tight, whisper argument way. HR analysts frantically deleting files on their laptops. 1 white VP pacing back and forth, rubbing his forehead. 2 supervisors glaring at me with hard, brittle eyes, the kind that said, You should have stayed quiet. And then, the worst one. A man I had never seen before, staring at me from across the open floor. Tall, slim, pale, expensive suit, cold eyes. A look that made my stomach tighten. He wasn't scared. He wasn't angry. He wasn't curious. He was calculating. Who is that? I whispered. Aaliyah followed my gaze. Oh, she said flatly. That's Jonathan Reeves. Should I know him? Aaliyah lowered her voice. He's the company's lead corporate attorney. He doesn't handle lawsuits, not at first anyway. He handles damage control. The CEO sent him? She nodded. He's here to measure how badly you can hurt them, and whether they need to settle or silence you. A shiver crawled down my spine. Not from fear, from recognition. Claire wasn't the final boss. She was the mid-game villain. Jonathan was the real monster. He walked straight toward us. Naomi Wright, he said, voice smooth as glass. A pleasure. He extended his hand. I didn't take it. A smile twitched across his face. Not offended. Amused. Congratulations on your rapid promotion, he added. There was weight in that pause. A silent threat. You'll be hearing from our department shortly. We'll need to discuss the scope of your authority and the limitations of it. Aaliyah stepped forward. Her authority is exactly what the CEO approved. Yes, Jonathan replied, still smiling. But CEOs often change their minds once lawyers to educate them. Jasmine muttered, educate my ass. I squeezed her arm gently. I met Jonathan's stare. Thanks for the warning, I said. But I don't intimidate easily. Oh, that's clear, he said softly. Very clear. His eyes flicked to my hair, then back to my eyes. Enjoy your moment, Naomi. Most revolutions burn out quickly. And with that, he turned and walked away. Aaliyah let out a long breath. Okay, she said quietly. That man is bad news. But we expected resistance, I said. Resistance? Jasmine scoffed. Girl, that is resistance with a Rolex and a law degree. I laughed under my breath. But inside, the fire started again. This wasn't over. This wasn't close to over.
Claire was gone.
But the system that built her, that protected her, that rewarded her cruelty, still here, still breathing,
still watching me.
Then came the email. My phone buzzed. Subject line. Urgent. Mandatory company-wide announcement in 20 minutes. Aaliyah's face went pale. Oh no, she whispered. What? I asked. They're going public, she said. Before you can control the narrative. Jasmine cursed under her breath. Smart, she whispered. If they speak first, they control the story. They minimize blame. They spin your win as internal policy change, not accountability. And they bury Claire as a rogue actor. I finished. Aaliyah nodded grimly.
Exactly.
They take her down to protect themselves. My stomach twisted.
They can't do that.
They can, Aaliyah said. And they will, unless we stop them.
How?
She checked her watch. You have 20 minutes to become louder than their PR team. Then my phone buzzed again. A new message. From a number I didn't recognize.
Claire.
I froze. The text said, You ruined my life. But you didn't ruin me. You made a mistake coming back. My blood ran cold. Jasmine looked over my shoulder. Oh, she's unhinged. Aaliyah grabbed my arm. Block her, now. And screenshot everything. But I wasn't scared. Not anymore. If Claire wanted war, she'd already lost. I blocked her. Saved the screenshots. Then I looked at Aaliyah and Jasmine. Let's go. Where? Jasmine asked. I slid my phone into my pocket. To beat them to their own announcement, we practically ran. Past the cubicles. Past the people stealing glances. Past the managers whispering like frightened birds. The auditorium sat at the far end of the building, a cavernous room with a stage, company banners, and screens capable of streaming to every worker's device. Exactly where a corporation would go to rewrite history. We burst in through the double doors, and my stomach dropped. The room was already half full. Directors, supervisors,
team leads,
people in suits, all sitting silently, waiting. On stage, a podium. Behind it, Jonathan Reeves.
Calm, tall.
Perfect posture. Expression unreadable. He wasn't just going to speak. He was going to frame the narrative. Aaliyah squeezed my arm. We need to get you mic access before he starts. Jasmine muttered. Or I can just unplug his fancy little sound system. No, I whispered. We're doing this the right way. Aaliyah grabbed her tablet, typing fast. Okay, I hacked into the tech panel. You'll be patched in when we reach the podium. Reach the podium? I blinked. We're marching up on stage. Aaliyah smirked. You wanted a revolution. This is how revolutions work. Jonathan tapped the microphone. The room hushed. Good afternoon, he began. As you've likely heard, recent events have brought to light certain concerns.
Polished. Smooth.
Rehearsed. He wasn't here to tell the truth. He was here to bury it. In light of allegations regarding improper conduct, the company has taken swift action. Jasmine muttered, "Swift my ass," and terminated the employee in question for violating professional conduct standards. I felt heat rise in my chest. They were going to pin everything on Claire. Isolate her. Disown her. Pretend the system that empowered her wasn't rotten from the roots. Jonathan continued, "We pride ourselves on diversity and inclusion. This unfortunate incident does not reflect our values. Our commitment remains steadfast, and we will." I stepped into the aisle. Jonathan's eyes flicked toward me. He froze. Mid-sentence. Hundreds of heads turned. A ripple went through the room, like wind through a wheat field. Whispers rose. "Is that her? That's Naomi. She's the girl they fired. She came back? Is she allowed to be here?" Jonathan tightened his grip on the podium. "This portion of the meeting is closed to employee commentary," he said. I kept walking. Jonathan's jaw hardened. "MS, right? You are not cleared to." I stepped onto the stage, took the microphone out of his hand, looked him dead in the eye,
and said,
"Watch me." The room exploded.
Gasps.
Whispers. Someone dropped their tablet. Jonathan's face twitched, the first crack in his mask. Aaliyah tapped her screen. My mic went live.
Real time.
Building wide. Unfiltered. The entire company heard my voice when I began. "Hi, my name is Naomi Wright. And I wasn't fired for my performance. I was fired for my hair." Silence.
Sharp.
Electric. Heavy. The kind that hits like lightning before a storm. I looked straight into the cameras. Into the audience. Into the truth. And now they want to pretend this was a lone bad actor. It wasn't. It never is. Jonathan stepped closer, voice low. "Turn her mic off." No one moved.
Not the tech team.
Not the IT lead.
Not even the VP.
They all stared at me, waiting, listening. I continued. I wasn't the only one whose natural hair was called unprofessional, or unpolished, or distracting, or not client-friendly. I'm just the one who refused to shrink to fit a box someone else built. Murmurs swept the room. A few women wiped their eyes. A few men shifted uncomfortably. Some nodded. Some stiffened. Some looked guilty. I took a breath. And for the record, Claire didn't act alone. She acted exactly the way this environment taught her to. Jonathan's jaw clenched. He stepped forward, whisper hissing, "You do not know what you're dealing with." I raised the mic. "Actually, Jonathan, I do. It's called a culture problem, not a Claire problem." Someone in the back whispered loudly, "Say that again." I did. And the room erupted in murmured agreement. Jonathan visibly panicked for the first time. He motioned to security. Aaliyah held up her tablet. "Touch her, and the live stream goes public." Security froze. Jonathan snapped his gaze to her. "You wouldn't dare." "Try me," she said. And Jonathan backed down. I turned back to the crowd. My story is not a scandal. It's a symptom of something bigger, something systemic, something that's been ignored and excused and normalized. I looked at the women whose eyes met mine. The ones who had been discriminated against too. The ones who never spoke up. The ones who didn't think they could. "I'm not here to make you uncomfortable," I said softly. "I'm here to make you see what's been happening in plain sight." Then, I placed the mic back onto the podium and walked off the stage. No drama.
No spectacle.
Just truth.
Raw.
Simple. Undeniable. The room burst into noise behind me as Jonathan tried to regain control. But it didn't matter. Everyone had heard. Everyone had seen. The damage was done.
To them.
And the healing was beginning.
For me.
1 year later. Healing didn't happen overnight. It didn't happen in a montage. It happened quietly. In slow mornings. In honest friendships. In rooms where my voice mattered. In the moments I finally let myself breathe. I didn't stay at the company. Not because I couldn't. Because I outgrew it. 3 months after the scandal, I received a call from a nonprofit that had been following my case. They asked me to lead a new initiative. The Crown and Career Coalition, a national program protecting Black employees from hair discrimination, retaliation, and subtle workplace racism. I said yes, not to escape my past, but to rewrite the future. I travel now, to colleges, offices, conferences. I speak to girls who look like me, girls who straighten themselves into exhaustion, girls who dim their shine to feel appropriate, girls who believed professionalism meant erasing identity. I tell them, you don't have to twist yourself small to fit a place that refuses to grow larger. And what about them?
Claire?
I never saw her again. She vanished from the industry. Jonathan? Lost his case, lost the firm, lost the illusion of control he wrapped himself in. The company? Rebuilt from the inside out, because they had no choice. Aaliyah? Now my right hand in every campaign. Jasmine? Still calls me at 2 a.m. to scream-laugh about random drama. Mom? Says she always knew I'd be somebody. And me? I rent a small apartment with plants in every window. I write grant proposals at sunrise. I answer emails at cafes, with soft jazz playing. I laugh more,
Breathe more.
exist more, and once a month, I open my old notebook, the one where I wrote, "They fired me because of my hair." I read the first page, then close it gently, not because it hurts, but because I survived it, and became someone the girl from that notebook never believed she could be. A leader, a voice, a movement, a revolution, a boss.